45 degrees. They're sharp, like a chisel for cold cutting metal sharp. If you ran your hand along it, if you pulled your hand along the sword, then it would cut it. But if you hold it, pull it out of my grip. I've got a really strong grip on that. It's not going anywhere unless I release my grip. Okay? This one's a blunt for fighting. It's not even got 45 degrees. We're all right. Believe me, I'm not that stupid. Ugly, yes, but not that stupid. Right? We know from the fight books, the martial arts guides, that they held the sword blades. When you're fighting somebody in full harness, you're not going to be able to stab through their armour. So you hold it like that. It's called half swording. Overgrip, sir. Right? If you're in full harness, how am I going to stab through? You come close, I put it through your visor, underneath your armpit, into your groin. I hook you behind the leg, pull you over. Okay? Some nice moves with this. If you come in with a thrust at me, sir. No, half sword? Oh, yep. Yeah? And that's where you come up into the groin. Yeah? Okay? You've got that. Do you want to try that one? So you bring the sword up, handle first, and hook it over my arm. So handle over my arm, lift it up.
Where am I going now?
Pull that other hand up, so locks it, and then knee into the groin. Oh, that's it. Yeah? Okay, thrust in again. You can lift the other side first. And now, the point's where you want it to go. Okay? So there's all sorts of moves. Again, you just practice. One of the general ones with that, Stu's favourite, can't see Stu at the moment. Oh, he's got his back to us there. You come to the main move, so we cross swords like that, and you just barge forward like that, and push them, keep them going backwards and their swords up, and you're there. So you overbalance stuff. About using brute strength and ignorance rather than skill on that one.
And you're bigger than me, so you probably win with that.
Those are my middle names. Right. Don't you want to try that one? Feel the weight of that one?
Oh, that's a lot.
Somebody else waiting?
Yeah, that's a lot more finesse to this, I guess.
Yeah. Again, in the English school, there's a move called a proffer. Now you get feints in fencing. A feint is when you go to deliver a blow which you're never intending to deliver. So if you come up with the false edge there, and before you get anywhere near, you come down, blow for the leg. That's one of my favourite feints. In English school, we're told about the proffer, which is like a feint, where you actually go to cut the head. And if you don't stop me, I will slice you through the head. But if you do stop me, I'm ready to come down to there.
I would need something to stop it, yeah.
Okay, but I can
do they have
use
them
it.
like fencing?
Pardon? Yeah, I mean it is fencing, but it's period fencing, medieval fencing. So what I would be doing is pulling your guard up there. You've stopped me, I immediately come down, and it's much harder for you to block because I've lifted your guard. If you don't lift your guard, then you lose your head. Just take it off at the top of the neck. Right?
To get from there to there is quite a distance.
Yeah, but you can do it if you know what's coming. Or, more importantly, what you would do is this. So you do it to me. So chop for the chop.
Go for the head.
Bump, and then go for the leg.
You step back.
And as you're off balance, I then come in here. Right? The best thing to do with sword fighting is not be there when the opponent's blade arrives.
Yes.
So if you chop down at my head,
you're not there.
But my sword is taking your wrists off.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah? So you don't do all this,
Yeah.
which sounds
Not very
lovely
efficient.
and crowds love, but it damages your sword and it takes energy, because all that blow on your hand is taking energy. You just step out of the way and take off the wrists. Sorted. Now, people are getting dressed up, which means I've got to go and be physically abused by a bunch of children. I would love to stay here and talk with you instead, but my captain will object if I hide. So I'm going to have to finish it there, folks, so I can go and get kitted up. If anyone's got any questions or wants to come back afterward and have a look, then please feel free to do so. Otherwise, thank you for your kind attention.
Some ladies going
Up into a ball.
You do see some old ladies with skirts up to here, and tops down to there, and their hair and their makeup.
Like that?
There is a point when you need to watch what you're dressing for. You look silly enough when you're 15.
Don't pull on it, Stacey.
So you can
Hide my
still
yellow
lighting
fence.
skills, but the fashion
There's some other things in here. It's a bit.
Okay, here we are.
So what I've been doing is
the head dropping towards the front, so that she was without the blade. this is
peripheral vision at the
most
moment.
people don't realise.
If you have a look at this, I've been applying some together. So this is stuff I've spun, and it's on.
People come to my face and keep smoking.
You see, there's 2 lengths here. Have a look at that.
I in one of our last shows, it was 36 degrees, and I was fine. I was warm, but I hope it was fine because underneath is there, and any moisture that absorbs very quickly to my skin.
Once I'm done with this, take
It dries very quickly.
wind it onto bobbins, aka. These are all I can find. You'd normally have, nice, properly sampled areas of bobbins, but that's what people do. So you wind them onto bobbins, and then you get an empty spin and just spin it the opposite way. So I always spin clockwise. If you spin it anti-clockwise, it will bind the 2 together. Right, so I've done that, and then that's ready for me to do whatever I need to do with it. Socks. Most things were dyed, so you get this and stick it in a dye bath, and then it wouldn't be spun when I've made it. Depends what you want. So sorry. If you're after blue, you'd use woad, and that can get you all sorts of shades. It can be nice and deep, or you can have it quite light if you want. For this sort of green, maybe it's a plant called weld, I believe. Madder is used for sort of reds and browny colours. It's various other things, those are the ones I know about.
And they're good for that.
It's basically, the stronger the colour is, the more expensive it is.
And you can climb trees.
You see the lady in the
Nobody's going to see my skirts. And the girls underneath have got their skirts to catch the apples and run away.
And eventually it will fade a little bit. And the thing is, when you wash it, and it eventually washes out and washes out. You can have it re-dyed, but it's expensive. So what's more like? Let's start with this nice, fairly nicely dressed.
Yes, there's very few illustrations. The only images you've got anywhere of women's
This is my best dress for a while.
is a man beating his wife along by the
My
hair.
not so good dress. And then eventually
Trying
it's
to
going
keep
to
up,
be
and the skirts are
my next eldest daughter.
pose.
And from there it will be the little one. And eventually when the cog's no good for anything.
The murder blows, you hold the blade like that. Hold the blade like that. And you're going to use the cross guard as an axe to smash my skull in. Okay? So come down to my head. And I do that. Okay? So ward it. So your attack is the murder blow. My counter is St. George's ward. Okay? So what are you going to do to counter my counter? Okay? Try, step back. Pull the sword towards you. Now push forwards.
Oh, right.
Boom, into my throat, using the end as a mace. Okay? So we have the attack. Okay, hang on. Attack, the counter to the counter. The attack for that. Okay, do it again. So there's a counter to the counter to the counter of the counter. Now all of this is happening as we're doing it very slowly. But in real terms it would be happening very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So it's all about training and instinct. If you have to think about what you're doing, it's not. So somebody who just picks up a sword and goes, well, hello, don't I look like Highlander or something? Come on then. Finds themselves with broken fingers very, very quickly. Right? There's a lot of stuff that you will see on the TV. There's a lot of stuff you'll see in fighting night shows. Like Mark and Rob were doing earlier, you saw that, and a bashing. Basically, a fight should be over very quickly. Fine, so you came down from my head, step aside, boom, hand off, through into your stomach, that's it. 1, 2 blows. If you've ever seen Kurosawa films, Kurosawa? Yeah, in Japanese it's all 5 minutes staring, then shunk, head on the floor. That's the end of it. It's the same in Western fighting as well. You get there, in English you have what's called a rake, which is a blow from the wrist or the elbow. So you hit the brachials on the muscle, the arm there, they've got no control of their fingers now. So having lost control of their blade, you then kill them. Or take the shoulder muscle, just a quick darting blow, disable the shoulder, kill them. Right? Or, if you can, just straight through and take their head off. You want to kill as quickly as possible, because after I've killed you, I've got to kill you, then I've got to kill you. If I spend too long fighting him, I'm going to be too tired to fight you. And in the meantime, you're not going to be standing there going, well, after he's killed him, he's going to be doing me. He looks like he knows what he's doing, so I'm just going to wait, like they do in some of the films. They're all standing there to take turns to get the head chopped off by the hero. No, while I'm fighting you, you're going to creep up behind and stab me between the shoulder blades with your dagger, unless you're an idiot. Or you're going to stab me in the side while I'm fighting. Because if you three are against me, then you want me dead as quickly as possible as well. Yeah? It's about survival, it's about common sense. None of this, oh, I'm going to jump over the blade. The number of times you see in fights, why don't you just stab him? He's going down there like that to cut down there. The whole back of his neck's exposed. Just step back and chop his head in half. Don't jump over it and go, aha. Didn't even ladder my tights. Yeah, it's all about show. But if you actually show people what a fight's like, it's, right, we're going to do a show fight, okay? Ting bang. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed your visit here today. What? Is that it? We've been cheated. It's about giving people entertainment. So that's why they do it on the films, that's why they do it in fighting night shows. It's not about the reality of it. A group of guys I know actually did try and show the reality and just did a number of killing moves, but it's nowhere near as exciting as the run. You see, it's, you ready? It's ting, ting, ting. You go backwards. Now you come forwards. Now you beat me down. Oh, I'm open. Bang! Across the groin, stagger off. Ooh, 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 ooh. You thought you'd won, but I'm winning really. Now you're about to lose. Then my feet get kicked out from underneath me and he wins really because it was all planned, etc. That sort of thing gets people involved and they're crawling for people. It's all about excitement. It's not real. Real is the smell of excrement because you've just ripped somebody's bowels open and everything that's inside their gut has just emptied itself out on the floor. And going to hit somebody and slipping up because the person you just disemboweled, you slid on the thing and you're wearing leather-soled shoes. You know, the stink, the sweat, the wetting themselves with fear, that's the reality of it. And unfortunately, well no, really, it's a good job we don't actually have to portray that side of it because camp would be really smelly if we did. I don't think I'd want to enjoy it that much. It's not what people want. People want the sanitised version of it, so that's what we give most of the time. But we can talk about the reality on occasion. Yeah, it's all good fun. Right, very nice. Thank you very much for volunteering to help demonstrate, even if you didn't want to volunteer. Right, anybody else want to try feeling the waves? Daddy! Any other questions? Yeah, footman's play. You've got your agricultural flail here. That's your agricultural flail for threshing corn. Right. That's it with spikes and weights added onto it. And then you've got your horseman's flail.
Oh, yeah. Kind of traditional flail.
A lot of people call that morning star. Now, if you want to put your finger out. Finger. Turn. Right, not heavy, is it? Nice and simple, nice and light. Okay, feel the weight. Okay. Not much to it, is there? Feel the weight, sir? Now try 100 yen. Big difference.
Leverage.
Now you're riding a horse, trying to control that. Oh, sorry. You did it one finger before? No. If you hold it up there, bang, 40 fingers. Gotta hold it at the bottom. Yeah. Now, why would you want to use something as unbalanced as that? The simple answer is because it gets around arm shields. So if you're swinging at somebody with a shield on, then it will go around the shields to get behind them. Right? But we're not using shields in our period anymore, they've gone out of fashion. Right, and the other problem with this is when it hits, it bounces back. So it hits and bounces off, and that's wasted energy. You don't want wasted energy. Also, if it bounces off and hits your horse on the head, you've got a very unhappy horse. So by our period, we're using these instead. Not as much use against the shield, but they're not using shields, so they've got decent armour on, so you want something that will bend armour. Horseman's mace, horseman's pick or hammer. At the Battle of Towton, they've got several skeletons with square holes in the skulls. Now after the battle, people run. We don't use horses in English warfare. The only medieval period where we've got clear use of horses in the main battle is Bosworth, where Richard charged Henry Tudor, allegedly. But even then, there's possibly some made-up history going on there. What we did have was guys called prickers, and prickers were mounted on horses before the fight. Now a lot of your soldiers are being called up and they don't particularly want to fight. So just before the fight starts, it's, oh, Vintner, need to go to the toilet. The Vintner is the 20th man. It's in 20 in French, not the person who carries the wine, unfortunately. Just going for a wee, Vintner. Back in a moment. Run off. Your prickers are behind the line with spears. You can die here, or you can go back and stand a chance of surviving. Go on, get back into the line. If you lose the battle, they're the first ones to run off and tell everybody that you've lost. Right? Get castles locked up ready, so on. If you win, they chase down the enemy. Enemy soldiers going off are going to try and get away as quick as possible. They don't want to be identified as enemy soldiers, so your livery comes off, your armour comes off, your helmet comes off. Helmet and armour first. You get your knife out, you cut your straps. You don't stand there fiddling with buckles. You get away as quickly as possible, because the rout is when most people get killed. Guys travelling at 25 miles an hour, chasing after people who've taken their helmets off, coming through. Nice square hole in the back of the head. Or, as they ride past, come through. This one I've tried on a cooking pan. The handle came off. Took it out, put it on a tree stump in the garden. Started off a bit gingerly because I wasn't sure how good the quality of the steel was on the mace, because it was quite a cheap one. But no, didn't bend, fine. Within 5 minutes it was a frisbee. Lots of holes in it. This will punch straight through steel armour. It's beautiful. Made out of steel with a bit of leather around the grip. It's a lot lighter than you'd think, isn't it? It's controllable, unlike the flail, and it will do the business. Whereas the flail bounces off, all the energy goes into the target. You can direct it more easily, it's more accurate. You can aim for the same place if you've made a weakness, and therefore it is efficient and effective. Now I do have a flail that goes through armour, which is this little baby. I hit a helmet with this without a head in it, I have to add, and it went straight through and ripped open the weld. But it is a big brute. This will cure 99% of all known headaches. The other 1% it causes. Would you like to try feeling the weight of it?
It's heavy.
Right, controlling that on the battle, we'll just leave it there for 5 minutes.
What?
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Okay.
Yeah. What have I done to upset you? Don't ask that. I'm English, that's enough, I know. Right? Once you've swung down with this, once you've brought it over, just make sure nobody's around behind, down, and brought it down, your opponent is going to run in as quickly as possible. He steps out of the way, he runs in, stabs you. So they put a spear point on the end to hold them back, simple spike. The problem is, it then means you've got to put a chain on so it doesn't foul the head, because really it should only have 2 links on, so it's quicker to use. Weapons like this were used by men and women in the mid-15th century in Bohemia. Hussites fighting against German crusaders, standing behind wagons, flicking them over the top as the Germans tried to get over. That's the only place I'd want to be using these, behind a wall or behind a wagon. Because if you're standing there ready to swing, your armpit's exposed. And somebody with a spear is just going to stab you before you can hit them. If it hits, it's very effective. The problem is, you've got to hit. And that's where it comes in. It's one of these weapons that's got a bit too big and heavy. Now, smaller spiky death things, we have Poinçon, or Huttentag. This one's from 1304, 14th century. Looks a bit like a baseball bat, doesn't it? The umpire says you're out and you don't agree. Dissuade him. Bat him up. French knights on horseback, charging in. The Flemish use long spears, kill the horses. Knights dismounted, you bash the helmets in. They're wearing mail armour. Once they're on the floor, square tip will go straight through the mail links and they're dead. It is said they collected 500 pairs of gilt spurs after the battle. Put them into a cathedral. 79 years later, the French came back, beat the Flemish and took all the spurs out of the cathedral back to France again. What goes around comes around. This little baby has many names. I like to call her Susan. That is a joke. I don't name my weapons. This is, well, apart from little spiky death thing. That's a big spiky death thing. It has many names. Technically, you could call it a footman's mace or a footman's maul. In Germany, it is called a Morgenstern, a morning star. In the lowlands, it's called a Huttentag as well, a good day. I've asked several Dutch and Belgian people, were they being sarcastic or ironic? The general agreement seems to be sarcastic. In Switzerland, ever accurate, ever boring, it's called a Spicken Club. I think you can probably work out the translation for that yourselves. In England, it's called a Holy Water Sprinkler. For those of you who haven't been to High Mass and seen the priest dip his hyssop, which has a ball, into the bowl of holy water and flick the faithful and anoint them. Once I've buried this into the brain pan of Lancastrian, it will be covered with blood. It won't be covered with brains because Lancastrians don't have brains, because if they had brains they'd be Yorkists. The next time I swing it, the other Lancastrians will be anointed in the blood of their fallen comrades, which is fitting to prepare them for their journey to hellfire and damnation, which is where all Lancastrians deserve. Sorry, a little bit of bias there. Okay? Richard of York. Richard of Gloucester, sorry, not Richard of York. Okay, would I want to use this on the battlefield? I do have an illustration of one of the Caesar tapestries where somebody is seen on the battlefield using a weapon like this. No, I wouldn't want to use it on a battlefield. Why? One, if I hit anyone in armour, these spikes are too long and thin. Also, this weapon is too light. You do find holy water sprinklers with metal banding around and much shorter, squarer spikes. Much better for dealing with armour. The other problem with this is once I have stuck it into somebody, I've got to get it out. And putting your foot on somebody's face and trying to lever this out of the skull of the twitching corpse while their friends are trying to kill you is not going to be a profitable experience. So why would I have it? Well, we're here to collect taxes today. The harvest just come in, and when harvest comes in, that's when we collect the taxes. Edward IV wants his share of your harvest, and some people, surprisingly, I don't know why, but they're not that keen on paying taxes to England in Wales. Can't think why. Never mind. This is a bit of a persuader. Also, my job is, apart from fighting on the battlefield, to help keep peace in the domain. There's no police force. Well, there is. You're the police force. Right? We have hue and cry. Every man is expected to carry a dagger. It is the law. You must be armed. The number of knife crimes did go up when that law was brought in, but surprisingly, it wasn't the major cause of death in murder and mayhem in medieval England. If we take, for example, the county of Nottinghamshire, between 1483 and 1504, of the 120 homicides and murders committed, the main weapon used was... pitchfork? No? Any other guesses? Poison? No? A big stick. You got splintered to death. One of the traditional British weapons, the quarterstaff. Anyone know how to hold one? Anyone seen Robin Hood? Come on then, sir. Give us a demonstration. You're not wearing tights.
How do you know?
Right. He's obviously done some bow work or staff work, but he's not doing quarterstaff because he's holding the staff in the half. He's half-staffing.
I'm not used to one.
That is short. It should be another 3 foot longer. It should be at least 13 foot long. Quarterstaff, you hold it. No, thank you. Quarterstaff, you hold it in the last quarter. Why? Well, martial arts, like friend here was demonstrating, you're looking at speed, skill and finesse. In 17th century, if you read the diaries of Samuel Pepys, you will hear that Samuel actually went to a gladiatorial combat in London. They had gladiators in Britain at that time, men and women who were cutting at each other with sharp swords and hitting each other with staffs like this, till they couldn't fight any longer. They were being stitched up on stage. About Pepys' watch, the guy had his ear almost cut off. Stitched back on, carries on fighting, stabs the other guy in the side. That's stitched up, they carry on fighting. The first guy then gets cut across there, so his eyebrows are hanging over his face. And the blood coming through is so much that the judge says, no, that's the end. And the other guy's going, stitch me up, I can fight, stitch me up, I'll fight. No, you've lost too much blood, you can't see. The fight's off. No, I'll carry on, let me have him. Nutters. Because the quarterstaff is so deadly, they started you half-staffing. You've got much less momentum in your blow, but it's much faster and showier. It's more effective for certain types of fighting, which is why you've been trained that way. But if you're fighting against somebody with a spear or a long sword, you don't want to be holding a weapon that's long, because they've got the advantage. What you want is to keep them at a distance. And holding it in the last quarter means you've got a massive amount of force to bring down. If you jab for their throat or their eye, you can kill them. My own particular favourite is you start there and just go bang and smash the top of their foot. They're hopping mad, or mad and hopping, one or the other. Why was this used in so many murders? Because people had them. It's cheap. You've just cut a piece of wood. As you're walking along down the road, you've got your walking stick. You've got your possessions tied up in your hanky on the back, like Dick Whittington going to London, etc. I have walked past the police station on numerous occasions going to training. I have walked past a chip shop with loads of police officers parked inside and outside, having their tea before finishing their shift. And not once have I been stopped for carrying an offensive weapon in the streets of my hometown. I've been stopped twice for having an offensive face, but that's another story.